Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the Schwa Mill, where every single Saturday at this time we help you craft your accent by listening to pronunciation files that you send us, so that way we can give you suggestions on how to sound even more natural in American English. I will be your host. My name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath, which is one of the four key ingredients to sounding more natural in American English, as well as placement, pitch, and trying to weaken your consonant sounds and trying to strengthen your vowels. All those four things will help you achieve a much more natural sound. So at the Schwa Mill, like I mentioned earlier, what you can do is you can send us your own pronunciation files. You can, in fact, look at the video description to see the link to a Google Doc where you can submit your info. And one of the things it's going to do is it's going to direct you to a website. First things first, let's actually show you what this Google Doc looks like. It's this. This is our Google Doc. This is how I'll be able to see you and give you some suggestions and things like that. I'm going to actually put it into our chats just in case you want to access it there. So you can see this is the link you want to go to access the Google Doc. It's going to direct you. If you look up top, it says choose one options below. Visit vocaroo.com. So if you go to vocaroo.com, this is what it looks like. You're going to see a big, fat, red record button. You're going to press that. It's going to start recording you. When you're done, you press that stop. Click save and share. You're going to see this link. You copy that link. You paste it into your document, and you're done. Now, it would be nice to know your name if you want to give me your name. It's also helpful if you give me the texts. That way we can double check to make sure that I am understanding everything that you said clearly. But those are the steps. That's all you need to do. Oh, hey, mini me. Look at that. All right. So, again, that's how you can send in your pronunciation files. So, I think that's all from that end. We would love to hear from you. And the other thing I will say is that the Google document link that I just showed you is good, not just for honestly this stream right now, but it's going to be good for any future stream as well. So you can definitely save that link. And if you want to send us a file maybe during the week, I typically clear it out on Thursday or Friday. You can do that. Put it there. If you see information there and you're like, I don't want Jeff to erase this, you can always make a note. Hey, Jeff, use this for the next stream or something like that. So that way I know not to erase it. And I'll be happy to help in that regard. I mentioned a couple of things. We mentioned that going over content, we mentioned placement, pitch, breath, weakening vowel sounds. These are all part of our foundational course, which is called 4-Step American Accent, which you can find on our website, as well as all of our other pronunciation services, including video courses, lessons, and things like that. Just want to kind of highlight those things for you, and then we will get right into looking at
Visit
file.
fluentamerican.com for all of our pronunciation services, including memberships, including our daily Telegram program, where you send in files every day and get corrections from us, Mission English, where we meet twice a day in live stream classes, and also our paid video courses so you can start learning right away.
Seeing there that again, our foundation course 4-Step American Accent is completely free. All we need is your email. I want to say some quick hellos before we get into things. Hello to Edward. Thanks for checking us out. Hello to Emmanuel. Fashionably, yeah, we were at an event for arcade. It ran a little bit long, so my apologies about that. Other people, Shok is here as well. All right. And of course, if you're watching us and you want to say, hey, please leave a message in the chat too. We love hearing from you. I think that kind of wraps up all the things that I need to say. Let's get right into our feedback session. Oh, let me add myself there, right? Again, it's not little, it's more little.
The G host was class.
Are you feeling that here, or here? All right, I got my headphones on. Let us now share our screen and take a look at the files that all of you have sent us. All right, give me a moment to share. Let me sure share my sound because I don't want to get yelled at by Manuel. And let us take a look at this right here. Okay, so our first file. 39. We got a long one. start off. Okay, let's take a listen to this. See what we got.
Do you validate, Mr. Chairman, fellow Toastmasters and friends? I was 6 years old. I was living in a small town in Indiana. I had a job I didn't like, hadn't had a date in 3 years, and I had a couple roommates named Mom and Dad. I felt like my life was going nowhere, so I took control. I left my family, and I had to Los Angeles to start over.
Okay, thanks Ashok for sending us this file. We appreciate you. A couple little points I do want to highlight. So let's take a listen to the first part here.
Do you validate?
I almost feel like I hear like validate versus like validate. Do you validate? And again, this is based on shadowing, so maybe he did something unique when he was pronouncing that. But just based on what I'm hearing there, that's something I would take a look at.
You validate?
So again, I would just validate. Do you do validate? Like maybe there's some movement into intonation or something. It's hard to know without hearing the file.
Mr. Chairman, fellow Toastmasters and friends.
Let me hear that again.
Fellow Toastmasters and friends.
I would say if this is shadowing, I would also listen to how the original pronounced Toastmasters, because I wouldn't be surprised if some of the vowel sounds were a little bit more open, because some of this sounds a little bit rushed. Fellow Toastmasters.
Fellow Toastmasters and friends.
I do like the and friends part. I like the linking there. I think it's very natural, but I wouldn't be surprised if on Toastmasters that O sounds just a little bit, maybe given a little bit more weight.
Fellow Toastmasters and friends. I was 6 years old.
Okay, so if you were telling me this in conversation, I would have had a hard time understanding 26 from that.
I was 6 years old.
It kind of gets muffled. Now, some of that could just be the microphone or something like that, because it sounds like I was years old.
And friends. I was 6 years old.
I was 26 years old. I was 26 years old. I was 26 years old. Some of the things that may help too is just the separation with the pitches, right? Like 26 years old, 26 years old, 26 years old. So again, just making sure we're going down, 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 and 26 years old, 26 years old. Just something there that I think would be helpful. Other things.
I was living in a small town in Indiana.
Okay, I was living in a small town in Indiana.
6 years old. I was living in a small town in.
So one thing there, so the text says in a small town, but I feel like
I was 6 years old.
I was living
I
in.
was living in a small town in Indiana.
Okay, so if the is there, I'm not hearing it. Just to note. You know, you could say like I was living in small town Indiana. You could do that if like you're describing Indiana. You could say that I was living in small town Indiana. You could say that. But if the original was saying I was living in a small town in Indiana, those prepositions are getting a little bit lost. So let's make sure that your vowels are long enough.
I was living in a small town in Indiana.
Okay. So like I was living in a small town. I was living in a small town. I was living in a small town. Probably something like that. I was living in a small town.
I had a job I didn't like.
We're also dropping an article there.
I was living in a small town in Indiana.
I like how you're saying Indiana. Sounds good.
I had a job I didn't.
I heard I had job. I had job. I'm not hearing the I had a job. So just watching out for article. Feels like we're missing. I do see a question here from Edward. The second T in Toastmasters is held. Toastmasters. Yeah, held. In some cases, you could even argue it's dropped. But yeah, it's not usually pronounced. So it's not Toastmasters. Just a note. And then I also see a question here.
Question.
X and 26. 26 years, 26 years, 26 years. You still kind of, I wouldn't say that makes it just a sh sound. You need to put like a K before it. 26, like 26 years, 26 years old, 26 years old. So if you're pronouncing like that, 26 years old, shears, 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 you're kind of getting that. So it's not just a sh. It's not, Shears is shears. You need a slight K. 26 years old. 26 years old. Okay, so just a note there. For that, Lincoln, good question. At least that's what I would argue. Moving forward. So find me mouse. There it is.
I was living in a small town in Indiana. I had a job I didn't like.
I like the intonation there. I didn't like. Good.
Hadn't had a date in 3 years.
Consonant sounds getting a little heavy here.
I had a job I didn't like. Hadn't had a date in
The D sounds are just so heavy.
I had a job I didn't like. Hadn't had a date in
Hadn't had the date, had like a lot of these sounds there. Hadn't had a date. So like I would try to flow that more weak into D's. Hadn't had a date. I hadn't had a date. I hadn't had a date. Focus on the vowels, not the consonants. Hadn't had a date. I hadn't had a date in 3 years.
3 years. And I had a couple roommates named
Okay. And the next part.
hadn't had a date in 3 years. And I had a couple roommates named
And I had a
date
couple
in
3 years.
years. And I had a couple roommates named
Had a couple roommates and had a couple roommates. I wouldn't be surprised. Again, I would go to the original file just to confirm if you're shadowing, but I would look at the pitches for this because right now the pitches are sounding very, very similar. Had a couple roommates versus
years. And I had a couple roommates named
had a couple roommates versus had a couple roommates and had a couple roommates. I wouldn't be surprised if the couple of roommates part goes a little lower in pitch just to add more contrast because right now it's just sounding very similar in pitch. Had a couple roommates, had a couple roommates.
Mom and Dad.
I like the intonation, that little quiver on dad.
His name Mom and Dad.
Dad, good.
I felt like my life was going nowhere. So I
Good. I like the pitch progression. I felt like my life was going nowhere. Great little movement there. Okay.
took control. I felt
Want to hear that took control part?
like my life was going nowhere. So I took control.
So I took control. I do think you could make the sound on took just a little longer because I think the T and the K are a little bit overpowering it. Having said that, I don't think this was bad.
So I took control. I feel of my family and
Okay, I'm guessing that you said home instead of house. Notice the transcription does say house, but I think you said home.
control. I feel of my family.
I left my home. That if we are switching it to home, that's fine. But we need more contrast with regards to pitches because we're getting a little stuck.
Nowhere. So I took control. I feel of my family.
I left my home and family. I left my home and family. I think you need more contrast with the pitches there. I left my home and family. So especially on the and, a lot of times I'll get reduced home and home. And so if you're going to do that reduction, cool. Just make sure you're going down low enough in pitch. Home and family. I left my home and family. Just a note there.
My life was going nowhere. So I took control. I feel of my family.
Because right now, I left my home and family. Like everything's just so tight there in pitches. Everything's so linked together.
And I had to Los Angeles to start over.
And then Los Angeles.
Family. And I had to Los Angeles to
Again, the vowel sounds just really closed off. Headed to Los Angeles, headed to Los Angeles versus headed to Los Angeles, headed to Los Angeles. Just trying to get those vowels a little bit longer in length, weaken the consonant sounds. Those are going to be my big recommendations for that file there. All right, Shok, those are going to be my big suggestions for you there. Thanks again for sending us your file. We appreciate you as always. Just double checking the chat, make sure I haven't missed anything. Coalescent assimilation, Edward says that we had some coalescent assimilation. I don't actually know what that means, but I'm going to guess yes. And Aisha, good to see you. Welcome back. Thank you for being with us once more. All right. So that first file was a doozy. Start off with some long ones. Oh, getting already blitzed by some audio. Give me a sec. All right, let's take a look at our next file. And of course, if you have questions about anything that we have just looked at, let me know. while I load up this file. And if you're already getting some value and some help from this, here are some things that you can do to help me.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
All right, sharing my screen and things. All right. Hopefully you can see this in a moment. There we go. All right, we see our document once more. See, Aisha's adding some audio. That's very, very exciting. Took a look at show. Let's look at see what this one is here.
So last month I came across this new TV show that everyone is talking about. And to be honest, I don't know why it's so popular because I think none of the characters are interesting or none of the jokes really landed.
Okay, thanks to Sycamore for sending us some files. Let's play this again.
So last month I came across this new TV show that everyone is talking about. And to be honest, I don't know why it's so popular because I think none of the characters are interesting or none of the jokes really landed.
Okay, the big thing that jumps out to me just listening to this is short I sounds and also e sounds. So, for instance, interesting. So again, not een, it's more n. So it's not interesting, it's more interesting.
Why it's so popular because I think none of the characters are interesting.
You can hear are interesting versus are interesting. What I think is happening is I think the placement's just going up really high on that n sound, so it's making that short I sound like an e. Also want you to watch out for really. So really can have an e sound, but just don't again let the placement go too high.
Or none of the jokes really landed.
You can hear how high the placement goes on really. So instead of compare mine like really or really, either one of those is fine. Really, really. But listen to this.
None of the jokes really landed.
You can hear it really. None of the jokes really. None of the jokes really. So again, this is just a placement thing for that E sound. We want to try to get the placement a little bit lower for that E. So none of the jokes really, or none of the jokes really, but not none of the jokes really, because that's just a little bit too high in placement and tense. Going back to the beginning.
So last month I came across this new TV show that.
So last month. So
last month I came across this.
So last month I came across. So you have like two thought groups here. You have the so last month, and then you have I came across. And I think I would like to see you play around with the range of pitches that you're using, because right now these are just sounding very sound a little similar to each other. So last month I came across versus if you wanted to add more contrast, maybe we could go down on the second thought group. So last month I came across this. So last month I came across this. You hear that shifts down like so last month I came across this. Or you go higher. So last month I came across this. So last month I came across this. So what that does is just adds more contrast so we don't sound so flat. Because right now I think we're just a little bit too we're a little bit stuck in the pitch range.
So last month I came across this new TV show that.
This new TV show. How are you saying new TV show?
This new TV show that last month I came across this new TV show that.
So last month I came across this new TV show. Again, maybe even adding another thought group here. It's all about contrast and pitch. We're just very, very similar. Everything we're saying, like you're saying it very clearly. It's very understandable. It's fine. But if we're trying to go for something that I think would sound more natural, I would want to increase the range of pitches that you're using. So I think we're just getting a little stuck.
Across this new TV show that.
So last month I came across this new TV show that. So you hear that range there. So last month I came across this new TV show. Just doing that, it gives me three thought groups, three different levels of pitches, which I think would be helpful.
This new TV show that everyone is talking about.
Everyone is talking about. So you're stressing talking. A lot of times when you're using everyone like this, a lot of times you're going to see everyone get the stress. You don't have to stress it. Right now you're stressing talking. Compare new TV show that everyone's talking about. Compare that to yours. New TV show that everyone is talking about.
This new TV show that everyone is talking about.
Do you hear that difference in rhythm that everyone is talking about? That everyone's talking about. Do you hear the difference in rhythm there? So just kind of playing around with stresses. I think if you put the stress on everyone, it sounds a little bit more emotional. It sounds a little bit more exciting, a little bit more dramatic, which I think will help engage your listener more.
Everyone is talking about.
So the other thing I would say is that the intonation patterns are very regular. Hello to world friends. Thanks for checking in. Good to see you. Um, where's our text? So again, a lot of what we're saying right now is just related to pitch.
that everyone is talking about.
Came across this new tube that everyone is talking about. So that's something that came across this new tube that everyone's talking about. And so compare falling intonation versus rising intonation on how about is done. So I'm going to play Sycamore. Sycamore is going to use a rising intonation.
Show that everyone is talking about.
Show that everyone's talking about. Show that everyone is talking about.
Everyone is talking about.
Everyone is talking about. Do you hear the difference in rhythm there? So again, mine has a falling intonation. Sycamore has a rising. So you can just kind of compare the two of those.
And to be honest, I don't know why it's so popular because
I like that part. And to be honest, so good contrast. This is the contrast we're talking about. And to be honest, starts a little higher.
and to be honest, I
To be honest,
don't know why it's so popular
I don't know why it's so popular. And to be honest, I don't know why it's so popular. Good contrast there.
because I think none of the characters are interesting
None of the characters. I'm being a little nitpicky. You could get more of a schwa on that. So like none of the characters. So I said none of the characters. You could say none of the characters. It's just a note there.
or none of the jokes really landed.
And then we talked about really, really landed. None of the jokes really landed.
Or none of the
None of the
jokes
jokes
really
really.
landed.
None of the jokes
So
really
last
landed.
month, I
I want to listen to that last part again.
characters are jokes really landed.
None of the jokes really landed. None of the jokes really landed. I'm just gonna cut the share for a moment. So none of the jokes really landed. None of the jokes really landed. The way I would have done that is I would have maybe done something about none of the jokes really landed, but none of the jokes really landed. Landed is your stress, so I would have gone a little bit higher in pitch on land, and then gone a little bit lower on did. So none of the jokes really landed. So none of the jokes really landed. It's just a note on that. So if I were going to say this whole thing, so last month, like I came across this new TV show that everyone's talking about, and to be honest, I don't know why it's so popular because I think none of the characters are interesting or none of the jokes really landed. Just another option there. I do see a question from Mayo. Can you not stress everyone just gradually dropping pitch from TV down to about? Gradually dropping pitch from TV down to about. So you want to stress TV? I came across this new TV show that everyone's talking about. I came across this new TV show that everyone's talking about. I came across this new TV show that everyone's talking about. I think that's fine. If you don't stress everyone, I just think that I'll let you be the judge. You can compare. I came across this new TV show that everyone's talking about. I came across a new TV show that everyone's talking about. Which one do you think sounds a little bit more natural? I'll let you make kind of that decision for yourself. I think both of them can work. But imagine like you're telling a story to someone and you're trying to keep your listener engaged. Which one do you find more engaging as well? Lots of questions coming in. World Friends asks, please, someone help me in this sentence. Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. I love my house and my family. Which word should I focus on? Oh my gosh, this is the question. Oh man, how do you decide? It's like, how do you make the decision? Like, it's warning. Which word should I just stress? House or family? My house and my family. I love my house and my family. There's so many ways with stress. Okay. Emmanuel says that the first one sounds more natural. That's fine. I personally would go probably with everyone because I think everyone, again, and John, if you're telling a story, making things sound a little bit more dramatic and things like that. But going back to World Friends, someone help me with the sentence. Love my house and my family. Love my house. Love my house and my family. There's so many ways you can do this. I personally would probably break this into two thought groups. So I would probably stress. I mean, your first thought group is probably I love my house, and your second thought group is probably in my family. Because that's how I would break it up. Two thought groups. I love my house and my family. So I would have two thought groups there. I love my house and my family. Because the other thing that you want to keep in mind too, so if you're two thought groups, the pitch levels are going to shift, right? One thought group is going to be higher in pitch than the other. Okay. So maybe that first thought group, I love my house. Notice, do you know what word I'm stressing? I love my house. I love my house. If I'm saying it like that, I'm actually not stressing house. I'm stressing love. I love my house. And then the second thought group, what am I stressing? In my family. I love my house and my family. So like the second thought group there, I'm stressing family. So I would break this into two thought groups. I would do love and then I do family. But there's so many ways you can do it too, because maybe you just want one thought group. I love my house and my family. I love my house and my family. That doesn't have exactly the same meaning. What you stress, if you change the stress, it changes the meaning of your sentence a little bit. So context is always the most important thing. Um, yeah, I love my house and my family. I love my house and my family. There's so many different ways you can do it. But if I were just reading the sentence without knowing any context, I would probably do that first way I suggested with two thought groups: stress on love and stress on family. Personally, first thought group higher than the second one. I love my house and my family. Going down in pitch. All right, in case you're just joining us, hi. How are you? Happy Saturday. My name is Jeff. It rhymes with breath, and this is Schwa Mill, where every single Saturday at this time we review your pronunciation. You can send us pronunciation files. I'm going to show you what that looks like. In fact, if you go earlier in the stream, you're going to see that we have a Google Doc. Give me a moment. What's the Sycamore's file that we just heard?
So last month,
Yes, Sycamore's file. Okay, so let me show you what the Google Doc looks like. This is what our Google Doc looks like. If you look at the video description, you're going to see it. And what you can do is you can actually send us your pronunciation file. Let's see, Aisha just sent her file, which is great. So you can send in your own file. I recommend using a site called vocaroo.com. It looks like this. Okay, so get vocaroo.com, but you also see at the top of the Google Doc, there's ways you can do that. If you go earlier in the chat, you'll see the link. Or if you look at the video description, you'll see the link. And every single Saturday at this time, we look at your files. And you might be like, Jeff, I'm scared. It's terrifying. I've never talked to a native speaker before. I don't even know who you are, Jeff. Who are you? That's cool. You don't have to send us a file today. But during the week, if you're like, man, this Jeff guy, I want him to give me some feedback on my pronunciation in American English or my first language. I can't grade you on that, but I can give you some tips for American English if that's what you're looking for. So you can go to that document. That's the same document we use every single stream. I clear it out typically on Friday, but you can add your audio file tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, even Friday of next week, and just put a little note. Hey, Jeff, save this for the next stream. You can just tell me that, and I'll be happy to save it for next time. Another thing, too, if you're interested, if you prefer just kind of audio, maybe you like practicing like on your commute or while you're driving or things like that, cool. Let me come with you. Bring Jeff everywhere you go. Bring Fluent American with you. If you go to fluentamerican.com/podcast, you can get some audio versions of what we're doing here. Okay, we're almost approaching 1,000 downloads a month. There was a time I stopped posting new episodes just because travel, but we're back to almost 1,000 downloads a month, which is great. All right, what am I doing? I think we're looking at pronunciation files, right? Let me share my screen and my audio again. That's all we do. Manuel mentions Pocket Jeff. Yes, Pocket Jeff still in beta for $2,000 a second. Just kidding. All right, we don't have Pocket Jeff available yet. This is the closest thing we got. It's the closest thing we got. Who we got next? We got this file. My eyes are bad. This says 13 seconds. Zooming in. Let's see what we hear.
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork or other kinds of meat products, and since we're mostly vegetarians, we wanted to remix the recipe to really reflect on how we live and how we eat.
Okay. Emmanuel, I'll be honest, we don't sound very excited about this. It's like, hey guys, this is Jeff. Here we're at the Schwa Mill. We're going to be looking at American English pronunciation files. It'll be great. I'm really excited. That's basically what I'm just ragging on you. I know you can take it. Okay. I will say though that the first half of this is it's a little flat. So there's some pronunciation things that make it a little bit difficult to separate some of our words. I want to help with that. Okay, so let's listen to our first part here.
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork.
Okay, so you're shadowing from the shadowing video. Cool. In case you don't know, we have a shadowing channel, which is cool. You go to youtube.com/@fluent American shadowing. If I remember, I have too many channels. If you go there, if you're trying to get some shadowing practice, check that out. We actually just passed 1,000 subscribers, which is cool. Videos are crushing on views and things like that. It's gonna go to youtube.com/fluent American shadowing. Okay. So I do forget what the original audio sounded like. So you can go back and kind of play and compare everything I say and tell me how wrong I am. But based on what I'm hearing,
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork.
okay, I'm getting a little bit lost on the will often have a piece of. That's the part where I am getting a little bit lost as a listener. Traditionally, I wouldn't be also surprised if traditionally goes a little higher in pitch because this sounds a little low.
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork.
Jungle will often have a piece of fatty pork. Another thing I want you to pay attention to in the original is the speed. So you are dragging out pork.
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork.
So you're dragging out traditionally and you're dragging out pork. I just like this little delay going on. Hey. We're gonna get rid of little me. Okay. So you are dragging out those words, but I think in the middle part, adding more contrast there with pitch and speed would be helpful.
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork.
We'll often have a piece of fatty. Like, we'll often have a piece of fatty. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some words in there are held longer and some are actually said a little faster. Jung will often have a piece of fatty pork. The other thing that's going to be helpful there is also pitch, because I think we're just a little too similar.
Jungle often have a piece of fatty pork.
We'll also have a piece of. Jung will often have a piece of.
Jungle often have a piece of fatty.
Jung will often have a piece. Jung will often have a piece. That whole pitch range to me feels too similar. Jung will often have a piece. Like Jung will often have a piece. Jung will often have a piece. I would have to play back that part, but I would listen to the original just to see if are they doing other things pitch wise that you're not doing. Are they going a little bit lower maybe just to add more contrast? And I wouldn't be surprised if the answer is yes.
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork or other kinds of meat products.
I would also wouldn't be surprised if the pitch register changes on that part for the other kinds of meat products.
Traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork or other kinds of meat products. And since we're mostly vegetarians,
again, just all the pitch lead registers are just so tight. Everything's just so tight. I want to hear the original. Guys, I'm going to apologize. My screen's probably going to freeze for a moment as I do this, but I want to hear what the original audio did just to give us a point of comparison. So let's do this. I'm going to take a quick break. I'm going to try to find this original audio. I'm going to show you a video that you can kind of snack on while I find our section. And then we're going to take a look at the original for comparison.
You were probably in school years ago when your nice English teacher taught you to say these words. Wrong. All contain vowel sounds that consonants can transform into horrible monsters. We are hunting down consonants starting with the letter L. Say these words to yourself really quick. Real. Girl, milk, roll, cool. Did you say them like I did? If not, it's because when the letter L comes at the end of a word, you want to make sure of these things. The tip of your tongue is down. The back of your tongue is high. There is enough air moving through your throat. It's like a consonant sound becomes a vowel sound like Let's try them again then, shall we? Real, girl, milk, raw, cool. Hear all that breath. Real and cool, by the way, have
long vowel sounds.
That's important because long.
Okay, I'm back. I appreciate everyone's patience. So one of the things that, Emmanuel, when you go back to the file that you're going to see And let's listen to yours again, because I want to demonstrate for you what I just heard. We're sharing once more.
Mostly vegetarians. We fatty pork. Have a piece in the jungle. Often have a piece of fatty pork. Or
Okay, so if you listen to the original file again, you're going to notice one thing. She does have more pitches. A piece of fatty pork. She's actually going to go higher on pork, for instance. But the other big difference that she's using for contrast is speed. She has way more pauses. You're talking way faster than she is.
traditionally, jungle often have a piece of fatty pork.
She's doing more. Traditionally, Jung will often have a piece of fatty pork. You hear those pauses and things like that. So notice it's not just about, pronouncing everything right, but it's about pitches, and it's also about things like speed. It's also about things like pauses. These are all elements that add to contrast. American English wants contrast. And right now, I would say in your speech, we're just not quite getting all those elements of contrast.
Or other kinds of meat products. And since we're mostly vegetarians, we wanted to remix the recipe to really reflect on how we live and how we eat.
Okay. So I need you to really go back, which I didn't look through the whole file, but I need you to kind of listen to your file here and compare theirs like side by side and pay attention. Do the short sections like I break up in the video, like the short thought groups. Do the short sections and compare. Are you doing what they're doing pitch wise? Are you pausing? An easy way to check is check your audio length. Okay. If their section of audio is 3 seconds, is your section of audio 3 seconds, or is your section 2 seconds? 2 seconds. Maybe it's 1 second. Maybe it's like 5 seconds. Where are you gaining or losing time? These are all really, really, really important things. Forget natural sound, because I think we're kind of just missing some of the elements of the rhythm that she's using.
Kinds of meat products, and since we're mostly vegetarians,
I wouldn't be surprised. I didn't listen to this part, but I wouldn't be surprised if she goes higher in pitch on vegetarian. We're mostly vegetarians.
wanted to remix the recipe to.
Want to hear the word remix again?
We wanted to remix the
remix versus remix. Maybe getting a little more short eye on that mix. So instead of remix, more remix. We wanted to remix.
We're mostly vegetarians. We wanted to remix the recipe to really reflect on how we live and how we eat.
I want to hear the how we live part.
Mix the recipe to really reflect on how we live.
On how we live. Reflect on how we live.
Really reflect on how we live and how we eat.
How we live and how we eat. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if eat's a little bit less punchy. Right now, it feels like eat, versus like eat. It's a little softer. But again, Emmanuel, I think the biggest thing, because you have the original audio for real comparison's sake, that's broken into real small sections. So the most beneficial thing, I think, for you is playing back to the original audio in, again, those short sections compared to how you said the section, and see what differences you can notice in pitch, how the differences you can notice on where there are breaks and pauses versus when they keep flowing, and also on stress words and how high those stress words go in pitch and things like that. Those are going to be things that I think are most beneficial, since you have the original audio to compare. Thank you for sending that file. Hope that makes sense. If anything's not clear, let me know. I especially, if I was just targeting one part, I would target especially down to maybe like meat products. So traditionally down to meat products and compare. That's the part I would target. All right. Emmanuel says, will do. He's on it. It's homework. Let's get it. Let us get it. By the way, guys, just want to highlight, do you know that we have a stream every single day, Monday through Friday in the morning? It's called Wake Up American. Wake Up American, in fact, what typically happens is, you can see all this real nice. You guys like my wood. You see all this nice little decoration I've made for you guys. But Wake Up American, because it's Wake Up American, we have sunrises. Because it's the dawn over the sea. And you're like, Jeff, you live in Ohio right now. There is no water. Fair enough. That's very fair. But it's called Wake Up American. And in Wake Up American, what we do is we give you a group of words and things like that, and we just practice saying them. The last class we looked at held T sounds. So like mountain, cotton, written, words like that. And these words are taken from a pronunciation group that we have on Telegram, where every single day I post a group of words and I send some audio of myself reading those words. And then the best part is you can send in your audio files, kind of like what we're doing today. But the thing with today is we only do it 1 day a week. It's only one little file, right? But in the Telegram group, we're doing this every single day: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every single day in the Telegram group, because that's the key to pronunciation. You got to study a little bit every day. When you don't study every day, you feel it. You're literally slower. And in fact, if you want to take it a step further, one other thing that we have is our Mission English program. So you don't just want to study a sentence every day. You want to actually have a class every day. You want to do a small group class with me. That's what our Mission English program is about. You can see 1:30 p.m., 8 o'clock on Mondays, Tuesdays, 9:30 in the morning, 1:30 p.m. We're just going through all these different times, New York, and we're meeting for 30 minutes. And if you want to be a part of this, you want to get feedback for your pronunciation every single day of the week in our Telegram group, in our Mission English group, you want to get some practice in every single day. Here are the steps you need to take to make
Visit
that happen.
fluentamerican.com for all of our pronunciation services, including memberships, including our daily Telegram program, where you send in files every day and get corrections from us, Mission English, where we meet twice a day in live stream classes, and also our paid video courses so you can start learning right away.
All right, we're going to go back to our pronunciation files. If that's cool, say cool. I'm going to share my screen with you once more. See who we got next. Who is next? Show yourself. We here. Who is this?
Traditionally, Jim.
We got more Emmanuel. I love you, Emmanuel, but I want to move on. Breaking up with Emmanuel. I'm sorry, bud. Mayo says, Wake Up American is an amazing stream. Look at that endorsement. Look at that ringing endorsement. The only thing missing is the rooster sound effect. I do need one. Typically, we start off with a nice little kind of just, yeah, you get that sunrise. Yeah, that's nice. But we could definitely do a rooster, or we could do like an alarm kind of just like, kind of wake you up like that. Anything like that. All right, who we got here? Let's take a listen. This is a short file.
The student's tech scores are lagging because he missed several classes.
Ooh. Oh no. Listen again.
The student's tech scores are lagging because he missed several classes.
Okay. Got a file from Marcos here, so we're going to give some suggestions for this. By the way, if you want to send in pronunciation files, this is a golden opportunity to do so. You need to go to the Google Doc. We put it earlier in the chat. You can also find it in the video description. If you want your name here and you want your audio file here, you are running out of time. You are running out of time. Let us give some suggestions for Marcos.
The student's tech scores are lagging because he missed several classes.
Okay, I do like that you have two clear thought groups. Like the students' test scores are lagging. First thought group, because you missed several classes. Second thought group, very clear thought groups. I can hear your pitch shifting between those, which is great. We always want to have that.
The student's tech scores are lagging because he missed several classes.
Okay. I don't have like major things, some little things that I think will enhance this.
The student's tech scores are...
How are you saying test? Can you say test scores, test scores, test scores?
The student's tech scores are...
I feel like I'm hearing like text, like a text message or something. The student's text scores.
The student's tech scores are...
Now, some of that could be from the microphone and things like that. So take everything with a grain of salt. But just make sure when you're saying students' test scores, this is kind of a tricky phrase because of the T and the S sounds. There's so many of them. Like students, that has two ST or TS sounds. Test has those T's and S's as well. Even scores has that S and that Z sound, scores.
Students' tech scores are lagging.
I would also say on lagging.
Tech scores are lagging because...
I would say that when you're saying lagging, it sounds to me like your placement's going high on that second syllable. Lagging versus lagging. Do you hear that difference? Lagging. Say lagging. So just watch out for that part there.
Are lagging because he missed several classes.
Because he missed several classes. Missed several. I like your pitch. That was a great shift of pitch between missed several. That drop in pitch is very helpful, very natural sounding. We need to use more of our lower pitches when we speak in American English. And I like what you did there.
Because he missed several classes.
I wouldn't be opposed for classes to have more of a short I sound at the end. Classes, because I feel like I'm hearing classes versus classes. Play again.
Are lagging because he missed several classes.
Classes. I think just having a short I sound, just a little sharper there, would be very, very helpful. Emmanuel and Edward are also noting that they are hearing what I'm kind of hearing on test scores. Something's just not quite sounding like it should.
The student's tech scores are lagging because he missed several classes.
There's some little things too, pitch-wise.
The student's tech scores are lagging.
Kind of a lot of stresses. Students' test scores are lagging. What if we just had one stress? The students' test scores are lagging. The students' test scores are lagging. The students' test scores are lagging. So right now, it kind of sounds like students' test scores are lagging. That sort of pattern you just don't get as often in American English. I would probably just pick one. Like the students' test scores are lagging, or the students' test scores are lagging, or students' test scores are lagging. Either one of those, any one of those, I think could work. But right now, I feel like we just have a lot of stresses, so I'll try to cut out one of those. But I'm being very nitpicky. I think the general flow here is okay. I would personally say as soon as test scores lagging because he missed several classes. It sounds to me having some context is always helpful. So it sounds to me like we're trying to give an explanation. Like, hey, we have this student, his test scores aren't doing well. Why? Why is that happening? Jeff, explain. Why is this guy not doing well on his test? And then I would say, well, the student's test scores are lagging because he missed several classes. Dude doesn't come to class. Student's test scores are lagging because he missed several classes. What do you expect? You know what I mean? So that's kind of the vibe that I get there. So that's how I personally would handle that. Thanks to Marcos for sending that file. It's a short one. It's a sweet one. We're going to keep rolling. The last file. We are getting to that moment. We're getting to that moment. Attention, everyone. Last pronunciation file, unless you send me something. F goes away. Doesn't get fed more pronunciation. Sorry. This is the text for what we are about to hear. I need like a drum roll. Why I load this up? If you're getting value, if you're liking what you're hearing, here's how you can help me.
Like what you're hearing? Let us know by liking and subscribing.
We're loading.
As a public speaking, one of the things that I think about really often is what are the key components that make a masterful communicator.
Okay. Good stuff. Play it one more time.
As a public speaking teacher, one of the things that I think about really often is what are the key components that make a masterful communicator.
Okay. I appreciate that you are really trying to push the pitches. I can hear a nice range here. I think there's some places where we could even go further if we allow ourselves to. If you believe in yourself, you can do it. So let's kind of see what's going on here. Play this again. Smaller chunks.
As a public speaking teacher.
As a public speaking teacher. So like there are some British English influences kind of going on. You can hear especially on teacher with the dropped R or really weakened R at the end.
As a public speaking teacher.
You get a teacher versus teacher. Remember, American English R sounds just don't disappear. You don't want them to dominate, but they're just not going to be they're always going to be present.
As a public speaking teacher.
That's what I'm going to say here. Rhythm. What's happening is we're really shortening our vowel sounds and we're really lengthening our consonant sounds. But American English in general wants the exact opposite of that. We want to lengthen our vowels and we want to shorten our consonant sounds. I can give you some examples of what I'm talking about.
As a public.
How do you say public? Say public 3 times. Public, public, public. If you find you're saying public, 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 that's a sign that your sound, your schwa is really short, and also your short I sound on lick is really short. Public, public, public. Public, 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 versus public, public, public. See how weak the P and the BL is? Like public, 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 public. It's not public, public, public. It's public, public, public.
As a public speaking teacher.
Public speaking, as a public speaking teacher, as a public speaking teacher, as a public speaking teacher, public speaking teacher. Another thing too is also stress. So public speaking is it looks like a compound noun, but a lot of times it's just treated with the stress on speaking. As a public speaking, like public speaking, things like that. Typically, speaking actually gets the stress. So I wouldn't be surprised if you asked a lot of native speakers to say this phrase. I wouldn't be surprised if you heard a lot of people saying public speaking teacher. As a public speaking teacher, with just a stress on speaking. As a public speaking teacher,
As a public speaking teacher,
but you're putting a stress on teacher. At public speaking teacher, as a public speaking teacher, versus as a public speaking teacher. You hear the difference in rhythm there. So it's just kind of something to consider.
one of the things that I think about really often is
I really like how you said one of the things I really think about.
teacher. One of the things that I think
One of the things I really like how you said one of that was great.
teacher. One of the things
One of the things. So this is kind of the exact opposite of what we just said. So this is a case where I think your vowel sounds are very long and very open, which is great. It's really flowing. One of the
teacher. One of the things
the thing we get a little stuck on things. It's like one of the things
one of the things that I
things versus one of the things. One of the things. Can you say things 3 times? Things, things, things. Things, things, things. If you focus too much on the th or the ng, it's going to turn it into things versus things, things, things. You hear the difference in rhythm? It's not really about the th. It's not really about the ng. It's really about the vowel sound. One of the things. Really trying to open up that ing. One of the things. So just trying to open that up a little bit.
teacher. One of the things
I like that pitch change as a public speaking teacher. One of the things you chose to go up, new thought group, raising the pitch. I like that decision. I think it sounds good.
one of the things that I think about really often is
That I think about. One of the things that I think about really often.
things that I think about really often is
So here, a lot of stresses. One of the things. So you're stressing one, and then you're stressing think, and then you're stressing often.
one of the things that I think about really often is
So that certainly can work if you have enough separation in your thought groups and your pitches. Like one of the things that I think about really often, one of the things that I think about really often, something like that, if you increase the pitch range, you can make that work. But the problem is we're kind of treating this all as one thought group. So our pitch isn't really doing that range. And so we have too many stresses. So it's making it sound really choppy. One of the things I think about really often versus one of the things I think about really often. One of the things that I think about really often. So I would cut off the stress. I would take off the stress on think if we want to maintain this pitch level.
that I think about really often is
We're also getting a little short on our vowel sound. Like really often,
that I think about really often is
you can hear it think about really often. Think about really often.
that I think about really
Think-
often is
Really often. I would take off the T on often. One of the things that I like about doing that is it's going to make the word flow more because often sounds choppy versus often is going to flow a lot more. So I personally would take off the T. Also on about really, when you say about really, I would use a held T there. So instead of about really, I would say about really, think about really.
think about really often.
Do that. Think about really.
One of the things that I think about really often is
Okay, so those are just some notes there. That's going to help smooth out that phrase. It's going to make the vowels get their chance to breathe and shine.
what are the key components that make a masterful communicator.
Okay, we see again some R sounds. So instead of masterful, more masterful. We need just a slightly firmer R sound for American English on masterful. And then also communicator instead of communicator. Communicator versus communicator.
Masterful communicator.
Communicator. So also some stress things, right? Communicator. So you're stressing Kate. Usually, at least in North America, you're going to hear the stress on mune. Communicator. So it's not communicator, it's communicator. Just some stress things there.
Communicator.
Communicator. Masterful communicator. Masterful communicator. That make a masterful communicator. That's how I would have said that phrase. Make a masterful communicator. Other little things
that make a masterful communicator. The key component is that make
sounds like we're getting a Z sound in there.
what are the key components that make
key components that make key components that make that th. I think it's the th on that is a little bit too strong. Again, it's not about the th; it's about the ass sound. Trying to make the ass stronger. Components that make components that make components that make components that make. That's how I would link that phrase. Components that make. And I want to hear masterful again.
Components that make masterful.
Masterful. Like it almost sounds like we're saying ma.
That make masterful.
Master versus master. So again, I think we're seeing some British English influences on things. So British English doesn't really have that ah sound like in cat or bad, but American English does, and we're going to get that on master. So it's not masterful. It's not masterful. It's more masterful. Masterful. More masterful. Just a note there.
Communicator.
All right, and those are going to be my main suggestions for that audio file. Aisha, thank you so much for sending that file. We appreciate you. In fact, it goes to everyone who sent us some files today. Manuel's asked questions here. Manuel asked the T and often is not held like in Mountain because it's T before N. No, it's just I would just drop it. I'll just pretend it's not even there. Often. I mean, if you want to view it as LT, that's fine, but just keep the air flowing a little bit more. I would treat more sound. Often. Good question there. I'm going to check our document, guys. I have some sad news. No one else sent us a pronunciation file, which means that's it for the show. I'm just kidding. I'm not leaving it quite like that. So, a note. You're watching this. Maybe you're watching live with us, or maybe you're watching from the future. Hello from the past. This is Past Jeff from Fluent American reaching out to you. Okay. Edward does make a note talking again about often some people pronounce it. Some people do. It's true. But I think something that's going to help with this file here, one thing that we're seeing with the file that we just listened to is we're seeing some kind of heavy consonant sounds. And so I think something that's going to have a profound impact on getting this to sound more natural would be trying to really limit some of those consonant sounds. You can get by with heavier consonant sounds every now and then, but I think the amount of consonant sounds that were pretty strong in that file was significant. So I'm going to take opportunities that I can to weaken or reduce them wherever I can. So I would personally recommend for often not pronouncing the T in that case. Just my recommendation. You don't have to do anything I say. You'd be like, Jeff, you crazy. Go away, Jeff. You don't know what you're talking about. You can do that. That's fine. I don't care. But those would just be my recommendations in terms of if you wanted to get a softer file. All right, guys. If you found this helpful and you're like, man, I want to work with Jeff every single day, we have opportunities where you can do that. We have a group on Telegram where every single day I post some words and you can send audio files every single day, including the weekend. We have small group pronunciation classes that, in fact, if you pay $30, you get about 35 classes a month, which you can see here, including some writing practice as well. We meet at all of these times New York. You can come to all of them, every single one. You pay $30, you can come to 30 classes. It's the best value that is out there. You know what I mean? Or you can just wait till the next stream. I mean, if you don't want feedback, that's cool. I don't have to give you feedback. That's fine. It doesn't hurt me. But if you are looking for some daily practice, here's how you can go about getting that
Visit
done.
fluentamerican.com for all of our pronunciation services, including memberships, including our daily Telegram program, where you send in files every day and get corrections from us, Mission English, where we meet twice a day in live stream classes, and also our paid video courses so you can start learning right away.
All right. And also, I see there are no synchro files today. No synchro files. That is true. No synchro files. And Aisha says, we follow your recommendation. Good soldier. Appreciate you, Aisha. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. I know the last couple weeks have been kind of crazy just with travel, so haven't been able to meet at a regular time. Even today, we're a little bit late. My apologies for that. Appreciate your patience. But it's been great seeing you. It's great listening to the files. Always enjoy that. We'll be back. My plan is next Saturday. I don't think there's anything crazy going on, so keep an eye out. If you want to send us a pronunciation file, you know where to do that in the Google Doc, and you also know how to reach me during the week. Thank you guys so much. You have a good day. Have a good weekend. I will see you guys next time. Take care and be safe. Bye, guys.